safe, and legal.
They want Roe versus Wade to stay. Pro-choice protesters popping up, making it personal. They went to the personal homes of conservative U.S. Supreme Court justices over the weekend, sparking new safety concerns for those justices and their families. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. In one state, reaction to leaked Roe versus Wade opinion took a frightening turn when people hurled at least one homemade explosive. That's a Molotov cocktail. And they did so into the offices of a Wisconsin anti-abortion group. Pro-life activists also protested outside churches after the pro-choice group Ruth Sent Us, that's what they're called, tweeted out a call to action on Mother's Day. The White House, again, defending people's right to protest, but added this: protests must be peaceful and free of violence, vandalism, or attempts to intimidate, all of which the president condemns in any case. Republican Senator Bill Cassidy says it's already going too far.
I'm unapologetically pro-life. I'm also unapologetically against mob rule. And the left has been attempting to intimidate the court with mob rule. The left has been attempting to intimidate the court by threatening to pack it, by threatening violence. Now we're seeing the violence.
The Wall Street Journal editorial board says, quote, everyone has the right to protest, but assailing the families of judges at home is a blatant attempt at intimidation. If the leaker wanted to mobilize public hostility to the court, it's succeeding. The actual threat to Democrat norms is the left's onslaught on the legitimacy of the Supreme Court. In focus now, Will Cain, co-host of Fox and Friends Weekend. Will, great to see you this morning. First of all, let's start with that intimidation and that threat of violence.
Yeah, unfortunately, Harris, it is become par for the course when it comes to the left in achieving their outcomes. I find that Wall Street Journal editorial that you just pointed to incredibly revealing. All we've heard for the better part of 2 years is we must defend our democracy. We must save our democracy. Democracy has been the verbal tick that reflects the current thing that the left rallies around. But it's all a Trojan horse. It's fake, Harris, into actually just achieving whatever is their desired outcome. And I want you to think about that for just one moment. The process. Democracy is a process. There's not a single process that the majority of the left hasn't been willing to undercut in order to achieve their outcome. Pack the Supreme Court. There's a pillar of our Republican, small r, republic, here in the United States of America. Pack the Supreme Court, destroy the Supreme Court, leak from the Supreme Court. How about due process? Every time an officer-involved shooting is in the front of the news cycle, there's no care, there's no concern about due process, just leap to the conclusion and the outcome. Protests, mobs in the street, they're mostly peaceful as long as they achieve the outcome. And then finally, here we arrive at the perhaps draft opinion that would overturn Roe v. Wade and return it to democracy. And what is the left's response to this issue? Going back to the process of the voters, to democracy. Take to the streets, intimidate, and threaten. They care nothing about the process, including democracy, only in achieving their desired outcome.
When President Obama first came into office, he had bicameral majority, right? Just like Biden does now. Mm-hmm. It may be slim when you get it, but you've got both chambers of Congress and you've got the White House. If this were such an important topic, if this were something that Democrats thought would unify their party, why didn't they try to codify then? Like, why wait and leak and do all of that? And we don't know who leaked, but why wait until there is a leak, then to say you're going to do this, this, that, and such? Where were these protesters? If it wasn't enough, then it wasn't enough then, when they were fully in power.
So I think there's two answers to that. The Democratic Party of simply 10 years ago, the Democratic Party under Barack Obama, is quaint and meek compared to the Democratic activist that controls the Democratic Party today. Progressivism, Harris, by its very nature, changes so rapidly. And today, it's basically week to week. My point is, Barack Obama in 2012 was vastly out of step with the Democratic Party of 2022. Hell, he stood for traditional marriage, Harris. And today, that position is worthy of mockery and presumed bigotry. So the Democratic Party of today would embrace destroying every process of the positions of the Democratic Party 10 years ago. But here's the second part of why you haven't seen that when Democrats have control. Because they know it's unpopular. The truth is Roe v. Wade was a shield to a very unpopular opinion accepted within the Democratic Party. I don't care how many polls people show me about what people think about Roe v. Wade. If the Democrats in the Senate push forward a bill to codify abortion, they're going to be forced to lay out the specifics of actually what they believe. And actually what they believe, Harris, is incredibly unpopular. Real quick, Brett Baier had Tim Ryan, Senate candidate, Democrat from Ohio, on, and he pushed him. What would be the line? And his answer was always, it's a woman's choice. And Brett said, 9 months, partial birth, and his response was, it's a woman's choice. Try that with the American people. Put that actual line, that position to them, and the Democrats know deep down that's incredibly unpopular.
Yeah, we're looking at some of what happened as that Molotov cocktail, that homemade explosive device, hit that headquarters in Wisconsin, that meeting place for people who do not believe in abortion. Their place was attacked. And so I just wanted to make it clear that some of the video that was playing while you were talking and giving us really a good forensic look at what's happening inside the Democrat Party. And why is that important? Because, again, they, for right now, are in power. So what will they do? But they are not in power on the U.S. Supreme Court. So this has gotten really interesting. I want to get to this. Democrat Senator Chris Murphy predicts the issue of abortion will drive big voter turnout for midterm elections. However, Senator Lindsey Graham disagrees, says other issues like inflation, the border crisis, are just too big to ignore. Let's watch together, Will.
I think this is going to push a lot of people to the polls this November that may have otherwise stayed home because they see that this fight is coming, not just in the state legislatures, but in Washington as well.
I don't believe it's going to change the outcome of the 2022 elections at all. When you go to the grocery store and when you go to a gas station, that's going to remind you the incompetency of the Biden administration. This is not going to take people's eyes off of rocket inflation, broken border, insecure America.
Will, did you catch that? They're actually talking about two different things, even though they were both technically asked the same question. So Murphy said it's going to drive people to the polls. And what Graham says, bottom line, the outcome won't change. So Murphy didn't say it's going to help Democrats win.
Right. Right. So, again, let's look at this two ways. There's a latest CNN poll that says this could drive Democratic enthusiasm up 7 points. So perhaps it does push Democrats to the polls. But that very same CNN poll said it will drive Republican enthusiasm and turnout by 9 points. So it's a net negative for Democrats or no effect at all. And I've talked about this on the most recent episode of the Will Cain podcast, which goes up today. To Senator Graham's point, Harris, I hope you don't mind me saying this. You know, when we check in, sometimes I can hear you talking and, you know, we can hear each other behind the scenes. I heard you talking to some of the people there that work on the show. And what were you guys talking about? You were talking about the stock market. I'm telling you, Senator Graham is right. Americans are worried about this economy. And it's not just the stock market. It's gas prices. It's our pocketbook. We know what is affecting us. And it is headed. It feels like the economy is sitting on very fragile ground. And I promise you that will be driving voters come midterms in the fall.
So, to be specific, first of all, I'm surprised that you listen to me that closely, and I'm grateful that you do.
I always listen.
I'm grateful that you do. But I would say this. What we were talking about was the fact that, now might be a good time to get in and buy some low stocks. If you have the cash to do that, great. But some advisors are saying, some analysts are saying that things are going to get so expensive for people that they may want to hang on to some of that cash because they're going to need it for like more basic stuff. And then the next thing you heard me say was, do we have enough baby formula? So that's where I'm going now.
Yes.
Will Cain,
yes.
Always great to have you in focus. I loved what you did, breaking it down, what's inside the Democrat Party and why that really matters.
Thank you.
I'll see you soon.
Thank you.